Hey guys, this is Leslie with the Posh Petunia. I just wanted to do a video today to show you how to make a chunky bubblegum bead necklace. There are several different ways you can make the clasp. I do ribbons because you can adjust them. Children can wear them or adults. So I really like that method. So that's the one I'll be doing today. The supplies you need is 0.45 millimeter jewelry wire, and I personally use 2 wires just to make it strong, so if for some reason one of the wires breaks, you have some reinforcement. I've got some 6 millimeter spacer beads here, and then I have 4 millimeter spacer beads here. And then I've got my chunky bubblegum beads. I've already lined them up just to save time. They're 20 millimeters a piece, so they're nice and large and chunky. Like I said, I was going to be using the ribbon closure, so I already pre-cut my ribbon. You can cut it to whatever length that you think the person wearing it might be, that it would fit them properly. And the other thing you need is 2 millimeter crimp tubes. They're really tiny. Can you see that? And then you also need, for this ribbon method, you need closed jump rings. See how they're closed? And you can do several different sizes on that. The size on that's not a big deal. So what I do first is I have my 2 wires here. And the length on the wires is just, you know, whatever fits best for the necklace size you need. Let me get my supplies out here. So I am going to go ahead and make a closure on one end. Again, I'm kind of particular, so I put 2 crimp beads on the end just to reinforce it extra. And then see here, I've got my 2 crimp tubes and my closed jump ring. So then I thread those through. Okay, like that. See how I've threaded them through there? And then I take my crimping tool and I crimp both of these 2 millimeter crimp beads. See? It really reinforces it really well. See? Okay. So then I like to use, at the very ends, I like to use the 4 millimeter beads, spacer beads, because it just works out better with the size in the middle whenever you're doing the closures. So I have my 4 millimeter spacer bead there. And so now I can start putting my beads on. This is for a local school. There is their school colors. I'm making it for a lady. And see how I've made sure that the rest of my wire, it goes down in there so that no wire is hanging out. And then I'm going to just start threading my beads on. A spacer bead, obviously. This is the 6 millimeter spacer bead, and it goes in between every bead. So I just start threading them on there. And really any age can make these. They may need a little help with the end closure part, but my little 4-year-old daughter, all the time, I'll do the closure part at the end, and she'll just thread these beads, and she enjoys it, and she loves helping Mama, so that's really cool. When you make it reinforced with 2 wires, it does take a little bit longer to thread the beads because you're obviously using 2 wires, and you can always just use one. I'm just particular like that. And I'm making this one a little longer than the ones I make average. Average for a young child, I'll use about 15 beads, maybe 17, but this one I have 19 beads on. Oops. The lady wanted it a little longer and wanted the ribbons a little longer than normal, so you can just adjust to whatever the person wants. This is really fun for a little girl to sit there and make her own necklaces to wear to school. You can do the matching school colors or college or whatever, you know, for a particular outfit. So this obviously is what takes the longest. And when you're trying to hurry, it seems to go slower. So I'm still just threading these beads on the wire. What I like to do is I like to have a middle bead and kind of follow the same pattern up both sides. That's kind of the way I like to make them. But there's no rules. You can make them any way you wanted to. Just have fun with it. This is really good for little girls to make these because it really helps with fine motor skills. You know, putting these beads on here on this wire. Okay, I've almost got the beads on. See, I like this 6mm spacer bead because it just gives a big silver presence. You can use the 4mm all the way through, or 6, but I just personally like the 6. So you see I've got the 6mm beads all the way around. So now I've finished doing all my beads, my big 20mm beads. So now I'm going to put a 4mm spacer bead there at the end. And just like I did on the other side, I am going to put 2 crimp beads, 2mm crimp beads on the end. And then I have my jump ring, my closed jump ring that I'm going to put on. So then you take and you thread the wire back through the crimp tubes, and then I put the wire through the 4mm bead, of course, like I said, it's harder to do when you're being videoed. Okay, there we go. And so I have that wire has gone through the 2 crimp beads, the 4mm bead, and the 20mm chunky bead. And so I just take my tool here, grab onto the wires, and slide these tubes down, and I just kind of pull it tight like this. And then I take my crimping tool and I pull it down closer to the closed jump ring, just so it's about even with the one that I did on the other side. And I go ahead and clamp the crimp tubes. So see, nice and sturdy. You want to leave just a little bit of room in the wires for it to play, because if you pull it too tight, the necklace is just too stiff. So you want to leave just a tiny bit of room for that. So then I take my scissors and I go ahead and snip off this wire. And then here's my ribbon. You just take it, I have it long ways, you just take it and fold it in half there. Thread it through the jump ring. And then you just grab this in and voila, there you are. You've got one end. Now for the ribbon on the other side. There we go. And then my last step I always do, which I won't do right now, but I always take one of those grill lighters and I just singe the ends of the ribbon so they don't fray as the person wears them. So as you can see, this necklace is a little bit longer. You could wear it down low or up high. But like I said, I like to use the ribbons because you can really, a child or an adult could wear it whatever length they wanted to, depending on their shirt or whatever. Now, you could also, if you didn't want to use ribbons, you could also use a toggle closure, which here's one side of my toggle closure, but you know what a toggle closure is. Here's one side and the other's just an O-ring. And you can use that as your closure on the end if you like. Also, it's just personal preference of what you prefer. So, like I said, the necklace is complete except for singeing the ribbons. You can just tie it and you have your chunky bubblegum bead necklace. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Leslie with the Posh Petunia.